Hello, folks. Welcome to another session of Billy Maine Storytime. My name is Mike Reynolds. I'm a writer of Billy Maine, and I've been working there for about 15 years. I used to be a webmaster, but we have a woman that does that that's much better than I am, that has much more better skills and everything, and she's awesome. And I started doing this at the beginning of COVID because everybody else was doing streaming things, and I find that it's a lot easier to cover things orally, and I think the oral tradition is important, and I think it's also much more conducive to community building and to working with different intellectual abilities. Someone who doesn't need to read can understand. I can go slow. I can do a very basic overview and then go into it so people all understand it. I'm trying to be as open-minded as possible, despite as accessible as possible. Open-minded would be like, oh, I'm for possibly could vote for Donald Trump, and there's no way in heck I would vote for Donald Trump. So I'm not that open-minded. We're trying to be as accessible. There's no physical way we can do the whole captioning on demand. We've tried it. It just doesn't work. We bought a brand new computer. Google says it works, but it doesn't. I have no idea what actual software or hardware you could use, but I've tried everything and it's just not possible. In my work with the Facebook system, it's been 5 years now. I've tried everything. Bought a new computer, Mac, and I did what I could. Latest OS, and but today is a pretty historic story time. Not that it's been 4 years or anything like that, 'cause I'm not really looking at times, but I think like almost 29 years ago, right around this time, I saw Ani DeFranco for the second time. First time I saw her was on my 20th birthday, so I'm 50 now, so yeah, it was pretty cool. I got to see her at Picard Theater, and I have the tape somewhere. I should put the CD because it's not circulating, but in any event, there will be reasons to, one of the biggest disability things that's happened the past week is that the Justice Department has decided to start the rescheduling protocol for possibly removing marijuana from a Schedule 1 drug to a Schedule 3 drug. This is huge for a number of reasons. I've got coffee just to keep my mouth dry because I'll be talking a lot. Maybe even vaping, because we are talking about marijuana, and it's not a bad thing. And it's legal in Maine, and we're ability in Maine. So what that would do is a huge amount of things. Moving up from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 would make marijuana much easier to be legal federally. It would open up banking to marijuana producing interest within the United States. It may not legalize marijuana, but it would certainly do a lot to make it decriminalized. It would essentially decriminalize it federally, make it something that could be regulated by states. Rescheduling would probably make it possible for banking reform to happen very easily. And that's something that really needs to happen. I mean, if you think about it, you don't want to really work for someone that has a cannabis. If you work for a cannabis dispensary or caregiver or do agricultural work or even advertising or do like product design or product working within the industry in any way can be difficult for you to get credit, can be difficult for you to get paid, can be difficult for you to even keep a banking account. And in this day and age when you need to have cash, it's really, it is nice to say that, yeah, it's an issue, but it's really is an issue, especially when you have medical marijuana that's been legal in Maine since 1999 and in California since even earlier. In other states, the systems are far more robust, and Maine has recreational and medical marijuana. We have huge sums of tax money going to the state, but yet, cannabis business owners are being subjected to draconian fees from the credit unions they can get accounts with, and then they can't, finally, and going with this, a recent law that was signed, that passed the state of Maine, I'm not sure it was signed, LD 2022, I believe, will change the way marijuana is retail sold. Just loosen up a lot more of the guidelines about being able to have kids in caregiver storefronts and not so many fines, and a little more business friendly on that end because the fines were absolutely absurd. And they were kind of unjust because if you're trying to do your job and you get, I've heard stories having lawyers have, caregivers having to bring lawyers to inspection because the state inspector doesn't know the law, and if you're a caregiver and you break the law, you could lose your livelihood or have to pay fines. And right now, Maine cannabis makes a lot of money, but honestly, flower prices are like rock bottom compared to what they were 5 years ago. Even more so than they were like 8 years ago. Plus, you've got this whole other separate entity of Chinese illegal growers that are all throughout the state. There's probably the customs enforcement believes there's over 200 illegal Chinese growers that are being organized by Chinese cartels and gangs throughout the nation. And some of this stuff is in, you can see it in Oklahoma. It's a little bit different. It's much more pronounced in Oklahoma. In Maine, it seems to be, they're not really part of the medical marijuana program, but you're seeing huge groups in rural areas that are not doing anything to stop the smell growing ridiculously over the limits that the state allows, even the federal government allows, and literal limits that are illegal, that are putting can't grow 1,000 plants with without very specialized or electrical stuff that is not being done in a residential facility or a residential house. And a residential house is certainly not big enough to grow 1,000 plants, let alone, have the power for 1,000 plants to grow. But that's what's happening, and it's kind of scary that, all these people are being held in rural places where they're not with other community members, of what they're being told, what they're being said, how they're being held, if there's human trafficking involved. And unfortunately, all that stuff is going on because marijuana is still legal, and it is an expensive drug to plant to grow. It takes about, it's easy to grow marijuana. It's hard to grow good marijuana. I think that's a good way of putting it, because you can find flower everywhere. You can't necessarily find good flower everywhere. And you can find flower that has lots of mold, lots of pesticides everywhere. I'm sure that's what's happening with the Chinese grows. The sad part is that the Chinese grows have their places to sell their stuff, and unfortunately, I don't think a lot of that's going to be in the state of Maine. Because let's be real, there's no way that there's I don't think that there's a pipeline between illegal growers and illegal storefront. I mean, that's pretty obviously, you've got to have a grow room that's legal, you have a grow room that's, because they don't do track and trace, but they don't do track and trace, but they do triptychs. So you've got to have your license to sell, and a caregiver's got to know where you're buying it from. So you got to be registered caregivers. These Chinese growers are not registered caregivers, and through the number of arrests, there's not been any, they've not been showing up as caregivers. They're not even trying to be caregivers. They're not filing the paperwork, which should make it easier for people to understand, or for people to really differentiate the good from the bad. Additionally, we're kind of over 6 months now since the shooting in Maine that was perpetrated by Richard Card, killed 18 people and injured 13. Up in my hometown of Lewiston, and I've lived here for 40 years. I've grown up here at 50 years old. During the incident, I was on the road between, I believe I was on the road when Mr. Carr was going between Storytime and Spring East, and it was chaos, to say the least. The second County deputy, who has been accused of dropping the ball in September for not for failing to see Carr in person, lead a wellness check, released a 20-page statement this week going through all the issues that you have with the interim report of the governor's office. Um, um, uh, the governor's panel's preliminary report, and he makes some good points. He wasn't told how, that was through either. Some of the people who had testified, they said that it was severe. He's got recordings that say that actually debunk what they say, because on the recordings they say not to be that worried, and in hindsight they said they were very worried. So the one thing that the person did was actually recording. So when you listen to the audio, it makes sense that he went to been that concerned about cars. And when you listen to his side of the story, it makes a lot more sense. And again, it all goes back to this questions around the Army not being forthright with the basically the county sheriff's office, and no, the Army is saying that they can't talk about it because they're doing an investigation. Then, so, we're stuck here waiting with, 31 people who are injured and killed in a small town, trying to find answers. And, well, the Army's trying to, figure out what they did wrong and can't comment on it. It kind of makes me sad because you know that, it wasn't just one person who messed up. The Boston Globe showed 25 times that cars could have been intercepted by law enforcement and wasn't. And that goes from, when before he was even hospitalized to when he tried to buy a silencer by a machine. He tried to buy a silencer at Webster Trading Post, which was owned by Roger LaChapelle, who is vice principal at high school. And instead of calling the cops and saying this person who is not allowed to own a silencer, tried to purchase one, he went, check on that, did nothing, and made sure that after the shooting, he made sure that everyone knew that he didn't sell anything because he went through a background check. And the sad part about this is that, we do have a better written yellow and red flag law. Hopefully that works. It seems to. At least from what the Maine AG's office is saying, it was used quite a bit more often. It was used more in the 60 days after the Wilson shootings that had been used for years before. So that was good, but again, it's hard because you guys, now we have a 3-day waiting period for most sales, and you got people from Kiwi and Trading Post saying they're going to New Hampshire, and it's sad. It's it's what happens if you're a law-abiding citizens. I guess you gotta be a little bit more put out. But I mean, if that's what it takes to keep people from getting guns who don't deserve it or shouldn't have them, maybe that's worth being put out for. I don't know. Logic is forbid. But anyway, and something that's been going on for almost happening, sorry, excuse me, I heard that about almost 30 years ago. It's been going on for over 30 years. It's a Rottenberg Center in Canton, Mass, which has, in the past, had students in Maine. I'm not sure if they have any students from Maine. And I know I don't think they have any students in Maine that receive shocks. I'm not sure. And right now, I don't think I can find any information out because of FERPA. But, in New York, so to give some sort of background, the George Rottenberg Center was the Behavioral Research Institute until it was sued in the late 80s, early 90s, trying to get rid of the GED, or the Graduate Electronic Device, which was a immersive protocol device that's supposedly FDA approved, although it's not. It's a shock device. It's only used at this one school in JRC. The GED was brought to court. Judge Rottenberg actually allowed it to continue. Therefore, BRI became the Judge Rottenberg Center. Judge Rottenberg Center has been using this for years. It has about 75 to 150 students, depending on the time of year. It hasn't been able to put any new students on shock for about a decade, maybe more, maybe less. But it still can shock students who've been there for decades. The parents who are the advocates for these devices say they are the absolute worst, students, although, like, mathematics and, it becomes more of a thing of why does all the most severe people go to JRC, and then how is that done? Is it more because they're accepting people, or that they can get the funding? We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars every year being put to this school. So the school I found out about in November '95, after administrators in Massachusetts tried to do everything. When we're talking heads of state departments and education departments and stuff, losing their jobs over this place. One incredible activist, Nancy Weiss, who is a doctorate, who has a PhD and works in Delaware at the Institute, University of Delaware, I believe it's something to do with, and she's incredible. She's been doing her work on this for over 30 years, and she's been non-stop. I've been trying to be as focused on this, and there was a huge thing yesterday in Albany for Andre's Law. But Andre's Law would basically prohibit New York taxpayers from sending any money to a educational facility that used shock as a form of behavioral educational things. So basically, it would stop the shock from being used in New York State. New York State is one of the largest states that have kids that go to JRC right now. So there was a huge rally yesterday in Albany to get people to go there, which is awesome. And it should be said that it's really incredible because since when I found out about it, a lot more kids got into it from the Connecticut area, and they JRC searching of troubled kids, troubled teens, that type of thing, who really, when they got out of there, they really started to do advocacy against it, saying, hey, this really is not good. They've got the United Nations, they've got disclosed as torture. They've had it banned by the FDA. The FDA's had that. JRC's had that lifted. Then the Congress has given them passed a law to give the FDA explicit authority to ban the shock. So a two-pronged activist thing. Officials in New York are trying to stop money going to GRC for residents, but also people are still getting comments to the FDA to ban the shock. So please, if you want to go to the FDA, go look on ASAN, Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. They have very easy guides on how to write letters about how to stop the shock, how to tell the FDA to stop the shock. It's very easy, you can quickly. Anyway, you can probably do it. You can cut and paste and put your name in there and send it to the people at the FDA. The comments are still open, so get them in there. That's awesome. To do that. Wow. And in a weird turn of events that it's just kind of strange because of the whole mass protest movement that's happened on college campuses throughout America. Today, the University of Connecticut, which is by far the largest university in New England, has said no mask is going to be allowed at graduation, which seems to violate at least a California law and possibly a federal law on not allowing masks in educational settings. But I'm not sure how it's going to happen or what's going to play out with that, because I just heard about that today on Reddit, which, again, you can't really do much for that when you just hear about it. I'm not sure when the new graduation is. And I don't know how that, what they have for other vacation techniques, like if they're doing it online as well, or instead, or in addition to for people who can't make it. But anyway, a couple of quick other stories that I've seen hit the news recently. Mandatory reporting laws have an effect on people with disabilities, or they affect students with disabilities and parents of students with disabilities more so than the normal population, and by far the incidences greater by multiples than the amount of disabled people in the population. So basically there's an over reporting on abuse allegations. If you're disabled or you have a child with a disability, or you have a parent of a child with a disability. And some of this stuff is really kind of interesting because one of my best friends was Carrie Lucas, who died in 2017 of SMA. Sorry, we had the same birthday. She was 2 years older than me. She had adopted her children after after her cousin or niece had to be put up for adoption, and Sherry was told she couldn't adopt her because she was disabled. And it's like, why not? I can hire a PCH to take care of her, and why not? So Sherry went back and got a law degree and adopted 3 children. She died in 2017. It was really sad, probably due to a insurance company's denial of a expensive medication, which caused her a huge side effect, which caused her to lose the ability to talk and a lot of other abilities. So yes, capitalism kills. That being said, Miss Lucas was a national leader, and she was frequently reported on by her mandated reporting paraprofessionals as teachers at her school. I believe one year it was because her child was transitioning to a new school the next year and she didn't want to. So, and she was also in a growth spurt, so literally, like, she got completely abused because her child's clothing didn't fit her properly, and it was like, yeah, my child has documented grown 44 inches and 40 pounds the last 3 months. If anybody is on that, you buy new clothes too. And it was obviously a basic thing that anyone could have, known about, but, it was things like that, very basic things like, that her daughter, was going through a growth spurt, or her daughter was going through issues not wanting to go to school, and therefore it was somehow abusive. It was like, no, you're talking to her about going to a new school, and she just wants to go to a new school, she has autism, whatever, ADD, whatever, emotional issues, and so some of the things that she would say make sense in this respect, and it's sad because if caseworkers are dealing with frivolous cases of abuse like this, they're missing the real things that happen every day. The able-bodied parents who or so-called able-bodied parents that have issues such as abuse or drug abuse or whatever, and they're able to get away with it because, you always have to focus on the disabled kids because they're always ones getting abused, unless they're not, and you don't forget about them. You don't, take them seriously. But it's an issue, and I get it, and I guess it was just really interesting to read about that the mandated reporting thing was affecting people with disabilities far more than non-disabled people, which makes perfect sense to me. Think about it. Another big issue that's coming up with basically everything, but this one article I saw targeted special needs kids and medically at-risk children, but basically any medical specialty that requires um, 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 some neurologist or anything that requires speech therapy, occupational therapy, those um, positions have become so hard to get appointments for because just trying to find a decent, psychiatrist and doctor is hard, let alone a specialist doctor or primary, specialist medical doctor for a child or a special medical condition. Believe me, I can't begin to tell you how difficult it is to access things that just are being in short supply or in short, everything from medical supplies that I deal with to medications that are being in short supply. It's happening everywhere. It's happening all the time. It's happening regardless of age, disability, or status. And it's not a matter of class or, it's a matter of whether there isn't enough people who do jobs. And if you just think about it, the jobs that are being harder to fill are the jobs that are at the front lines of getting COVID, or at the front lines of being in public, or at the front lines of being in public where people are going to be aggressive or be mad or aggressive or dangerous towards you. Teaching is another thing. Special ed is having a real hard time finding proper education and proper educational staffing ratios to continue to do special ed at this time, because there's people, it's just so few, because it's been 4 years now, people are sick of dealing with COVID restrictions. Excuse me, I need a drink because my mouth is very hoarse. So between COVID restrictions, cost of living, the ability for people to go anywhere in the U.S., the medical shortage, the education shortage, the shortage of people that need specialized treatment and can't receive it is at an all-time high, because if you can't find it, it's going to be hard to get. And it's a thing that's a problem in Maine. It's definitely a problem in Maine, to the point where you don't even bother looking for a wheelchair, because I was looking for a wheelchair fitting for a year, and I got a phone call one day, and I was sick, so I couldn't do it. And then someone gave me a wheelchair, so I didn't have to worry about it. And I have another friend who might give me a wheelchair. And honestly, I'd rather deal with that than have to go with kind of get one fitted. I'm literally using the same wheelchair that my friend had underneath his trailer, which was a titanium frame, and it's wonderful. But I mean, literally I've had the chair for 15 years, and usually people get one every 10, but I have no reason to get a new one. But I mean, it's hard to find good medical equipment. It's hard to find good, you know, doctors. It's hard, I'm so lucky to have awesome and incredible primary care and talk therapy. I have a mental health nurse practitioner who is a great doctor. And I'm lucky to have that. It took a lot of self-advocacy to get those. And I'll tell you, it wasn't something I would say would be easy, but it worked, and I'm lucky, and I'm really, really lucky, and I count my blessings every day, and I'm lucky to do this every day. I was going to end with Bill Bouchard's obituary, because I do have it. It was published. Bill Bouchard is going to be doing there's going to be a memory and Memorial Day weekend, and it's at his place in Westbrook. His obituary is on the Lewiston Sun Journal. They're free. There's no paywall or anything. It's William Billy Bouchard. Bill was a pioneer in wheelchair sports in Maine, and it really blows my mind. There really is nothing for wheelchair or disabled sports in Maine to remember people by, or even like something to cross-reference by. I mean, we made handicap and type of sports, which is a winter thing and a summer thing, and they're wonderful, but they don't really have connection to quad rugby, because that's a really hardcore spinal cord injury sport, and there are some other people, but it's a hardcore spinal cord injury sport. But Bouchard, Billy, was just awesome, because he was the first person to work with Monica Quinby. Monica Quinby is now a national sledge hockey champion who started or player who started in Maine, now I believe is in Florida. Bill Bouchard also worked with New England Lights to found it and to work with get martial arts, mixed martial arts fighting in Maine. Bill did so much for trying to get other quadriplegics and paraplegics and people with disabilities involved and working and surviving their injuries. That, it's hard to think that something like that would just be forgotten, and I really hope that there's something that can be done, like a sports hall of fame or something that would honor or at least mention him. I don't know what there is for that name, but I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to try and send some emails and see what can be done, because I know a few people, and being a writer, and sometimes has its privileges, and while it really doesn't have anything to do with disability per se, shout out to Julia Gagnon for doing so awesome it sucks that she didn't make it any further on American Idol. I'm not a huge American Idol fan, but she was amazing. Incredible voice, incredible story. She was adopted from Guatemala. She goes to UMF, which is a huge school for special ed teachers come out of. So that'll be interesting to see where she goes. And I'm trying to think of other things that could be happening right now. There was a story about how Paris is trying to become more accessible for the Olympics, not doing a great job because it's so old, and how they only have one major line that's accessible, but they're going to have shuttles to a lot of the events. And I gotta say that I wish I could go to the Paris Paralympics, much more so than the Paris Olympics, but I mean, I believe the Olympics are coming back to Maine, coming back to America at some point in the next decade. So I saw the '96 Paralympics in Atlanta, and they were here in '02. I didn't get to go, but I will definitely try to get to. I believe it's Los Angeles at some point, and that's gonna be pretty cool. I believe it's 2028. It's gonna be LA. I have no idea. I can't go for all life right now. But it's been about 15 minutes that we've been talking, so I'm gonna let it go right now. And it's about 4:20 Eastern Daylight Time, so I'm gonna enjoy myself, and I hope you do too. Have a great day, and I'll hope to talk to you sometime soon. Hope you enjoy this story time. Peace out.